What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. I do uploads every day, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. This one's a little bit later. My apologies for that. Jim Clyburn. He has now officially backed Nina Turner's opponent for the Ohio special election. This is the election for the seat that was vacated by Marcia Fudge. This is my hometown district. I have interest in this. I've known Marcia Fudge from, well, not personally, but I've known of her since she first started in Congress. It's amazing to see her rise up. But the big picture I want to talk about is Nina Turner. Nina Turner represents this beacon of hope for progressives. And if you're watching this and you're more of a progressive right, you could say, or populist right, there is some overlap here. And if you're watching this and you are progressive left, I'm going to need to hear from you. Do you believe in Nina Turner? That's what this is really about. And I'll go through the range of emotions I have. If you're a politician nowadays and you're not talking to the people, you are done. It's over. You do not have a future. And that's just where everything is going. It's like trying to operate the world without a cell phone. It's not really a good thing. You're at a disadvantage. That's where all the energy is. Ted Cruz faking as a populist. He is established as they come. His wife is a manager at Goldman Sachs. Chuck Schumer faking like he's a progressive. They even call Joe Biden a progressive. Don't fall into that. That's not a progressive left. So when I look at Nina Turner, who's running for that seat in this election here against Shontel Brown, and that's who Clyburn endorsed, what you see here is a populist candidate in Nina Turner versus a classic establishment candidate. What is the establishment? Check out my thoughts on that. That's just such a diversion. I just did a video and link it up above. I think when I looked at this, I thought it was a good sign because Hillary Clinton endorsed Shontel Brown as well in the race for this Cleveland congressional seat. So when you look at it, you're like, those endorsements for the other candidate, Shontel Brown, make Nina Turner feel more legitimate as a progressive. And I'm going to end after I'm done here with why that's not the case, in my opinion. But there's a lot to like about Nina Turner on her face, on her value. I've seen people actually say they want her to run for president. She is a compelling speaker.
The majority of Democrats who helped flip the House in 2018 were moderates. James Carville made the argument over the weekend that Senator Sanders isn't a Democrat, he's an ideologue, and we've got to get practical. If he is the candidate, he is not going to be able to help win over the Senate. And unless you have the Senate, if you've just got the White House, you ain't going to get nothing done.
Stephanie, does practical mean that the 89 or so million people who are uninsured or underinsured in this country continue to suffer? Does being practical mean that we don't take steps in this country to deal with climate chaos and bring world leaders to bear? Does being practical mean that we continue to prop up a legal system that is unjust in every stretch of the imagination, that bears its weight down on black men and black women, and then by extension, if you are Hispanic or indigenous or poor? Does being practical mean that we don't say to the American people that you deserve better?
Nina Turner has earned the endorsements of members of House progressives such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib. So she's got the endorsement of basically the squad, and she's going against the establishment. So you would think I would be all in for that. I fell for this with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez 2 years ago, where I thought she was for real. I thought she was for real. I thought she was going to be a disruptor. I wanted her to be old enough to run for president. Nina Turner has that same energy, even more compelling, I would say. But it's been uncovered in this great unmasking that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is nothing but a phony, fake, fugazi, a waste of my time. Now, I don't know if she got converted when she got in there or if I just misread it. When I look back at it, I've looked back at a lot of the clips that I liked about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and I misread them. Her clips, I assumed that she was talking about the establishment. When you go back to seeing some of her passionate clips, she was talking about Donald Trump the whole time. Her focus was only on Trump. So that's why you see when Biden won, she doesn't have that same energy when she sees things that, or when there are things to criticize. What is going on here? What are they saying about this? What I try to do is demonstrate by precept and example how we are to proceed as a party, Clyburn told the Times. So he's trying to say, I'm just trying to bring us back to the middle, is what that translates to. When I spoke out against sloganeering like burn baby burn in the 60s and defund the police, which I think is cutting the throats of the party, I know exactly where my constituents are. They're against that, and I'm against that. I agree with that. He's absolutely right. The defund the police is a failure. It's not working. That you've got to pivot away from that. Whether you agree with it or not, as a marketing slogan, it is a failure. And what he's talking about is for the purple districts. For the blue districts, like where these progressives are, of course they're fine with defund the police. They've blindly voted for Democrats for 5 decades. Of course they're fine. They're fine with anything the Democrats say. That doesn't mean it's working. He's talking about in districts like Lauren Underwood in Illinois. That's not playing in her district. She's vulnerable, and she's not going to win again, in my opinion, another term, even though I think she's very good. But she has to be more outspoken. She's too passive. You've got to speak out against this stuff. Here's the other side. You can't take any one race and paint it as some larger aggregate for the whole country. Ocasio-Cortez told the Time, that's a graceful rebuke. If you don't know, James Clyburn is very, very powerful. He's been there forever. He's been there from way back. He's been there when Joe Biden was doing the crime bill and all that. He's been there. And he has a lot of power. After Nancy Pelosi, is it fair to say he's the most powerful Democrat in the House? I think that's easily fair to say, right? I'm trying to think who's more powerful in the House. No one. He's the second most powerful Democrat. So AOC has to watch her words when she tries to rebuke him. That was well crafted. But I do think that Nina is a beloved leader in the progressive movement, and the degree of excitement that she generated and grassroots energy and organizing in her direction is a real testament to the asset that the base of our party can provide. Really well crafted statements from Clyburn and from AOC. They're disagreeing, but not sniping each other, which I think that is smart. There's no need to. There's no need to snipe it. What's the benefit for AOC to snipe at him for this? If you want to snipe at him for Medicare for all, I'm all for it. But for this isn't worth sniping, especially when Nina's going to win pretty much easily. Last polling here, they don't do a lot of polling for these local ones, but the polling that Nina got for her own campaign was a blowout, basically. I wondered, they were able to control AOC. It does make me wonder, because the establishment, however it's done, I don't know how, in my opinion, was able to bring Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez into the fold. Do they not think they can do that with Nina Turner? And I don't believe in Nina Turner, and I'll tell you why. The topic of race is great for me. The topic of race is wonderful for me. This is a side note. Wow. What a few years of Democratic CRT looks like. Wow. That's crazy. As a side note, that's Gwen Berry. Someone found a picture of her with the flag years ago. And then, wow. I didn't expect to see that. I just went to Twitter, and I'm sorry, I'm digressing, but you might hear me talk about that one later. Wow. Let's look at Nina Turner. And what I did is, race is the great unmasking right now. Where you stand on race, and that picture is perfect. That picture is perfect. If Nina Turner looks at Gwen Berry and she doesn't help guide her to a more substantive effort at actively protesting, I know she's fugazi. It's really simple. And she didn't comment on this, but I just searched Nina Turner and white supremacy. What did she tweeted about white supremacy? The filibuster is a legacy of white supremacy. It needs to be abolished. We must go to war with white supremacy. That's what I'm going to end on. She's fake. She's completely fake. That tells me, and I love that. You see how quickly I can make my decision? Because I was confused. I'm like, Nina Turner, she's so great when she speaks, and then the establishment is trying to get her out of there, and that makes her more legit. But then I search her name and white supremacy, and she's talking about this vague white supremacy that we must go to war with. If you believe in white supremacy, it's everywhere. It's in the donors that you got. Nina Turner raised $100,000 like within 24 or 48 hours after Hillary Clinton endorsed Shontel Brown. And she boasted about it, as she should. That's a great accomplishment. But white supremacy is in those donations. It's in the process that you have to raise millions on millions of dollars to represent that district in Cleveland. Is that white supremacy? Is there any white supremacy in the Democratic Party? You must go to war with it, right? Then that means you have to go to war with it wherever it is. That means you have to call it out wherever it is. It's so simple. It's so easy. I would never, ever, ever, ever vote for someone who makes a statement. And, as long as I hear them make it. I might vote for somebody like Tulsi would never say some stuff like that. But right now, for president, I digress. But for president, if you're curious, comic Dave Smith has overtaken Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard. Those are my three that if I had to vote for president right now would be number one, comic Dave Smith. And actually, I'm going to move Tulsi Gabbard to number two. Oh, my math hat. I'm going to have to get my math hat. I guess that was a symbolic moment. I don't know where my math hat is. Make America Think Harder for Andrew Yang. He is who I voted for president in 2020, and I'm moving him down to 3. And I'm going to do a video on that. It's not like I don't have him up in the top of the list, but he's moved down because of things that happened with the New York mayoral campaign. But still up there with rarefied air. Comic Dave Smith came out of nowhere. I'm trying to articulate my thoughts, just like I challenged Gwen Berry. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm going to vote for comic Dave Smith. Or it's one thing to say, I'm not against Donald Trump. Can you articulate why you're for Donald Trump? Can you articulate that? Can I articulate why comic Dave Smith is my number one choice for president? If I can't put something together to articulate it, then I'm going to have to abandon that position. Tulsi Gabbard's number 2, Andrew Yang's number 3. I love that group right there. Let me know what you think. Or do you believe in Nina Turner? Would you believe in her for president or Congress, representing us in Congress? Do you think I'm out of line with my hard line? If you talk about this boogeyman, this general term of white supremacy, and you're not for it everywhere, it's only outside your political party, am I out of line for saying you are fake and potentially evil? I want nothing to do with you if that's your stance. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Take care.